Welcome to Inspire Her. Hey, it's Jules from Radio Now 100.9. This is our Betting on You panel. We are focusing on mental health today. I am joined by Angela Levingston. She is a crisis mental health therapist working at various hospitals in the Indianapolis area, providing emergency psychiatric assessments. How are you doing, Angela?
I am doing great. I'm so excited about this topic.
And I'm so excited to be talking about mental health. You know, I think it's something we need to continue to talk about. We're over a year into this pandemic, and one thing that I know I've been struggling with is focusing on me and making sure that I'm taking care of myself. And I've just been putting everyone and everything else ahead of myself. And I know a lot of other people are feeling that way. We're all feeling very drained, and we need some tips to make sure that we're living our best lives and being our best selves. So let's talk about betting on you. Can you tell us what exactly that means?
Yeah, it really kind of consists of three elements. It means really believing in yourself, and that means shaking off a lot of this, the negative talk, the self-doubt. It means also investing in you. That means doing the things that's going to enhance you in your career, in your personal life, in your relationships and family, and then also doing you. Because once you move past those things, you actually have to take action.
So kind of let's expand on each one of those. So you said believing in you. So a lot of times I feel like we don't believe in ourselves, and other people are kind of believing in us more than ourselves. What are some things we can do to make sure that we're believing in ourselves?
Yeah, it's really having the strength and the courage to move beyond just the comfort zone. And sometimes when we don't have that strength within ourselves, it's important to rely on people who have that positive affirmations that are telling you, look, you have this, you are capable of doing that. The biggest thing is that negative self-talk that we tell ourselves, oh, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm not the person that could do that. Not, as I talked about earlier, letting go of that self-doubt. It's also challenge yourself in being willing to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes along the way, but that's the opportunity that you have to have the greatest amount of growth.
Yes, and investing in yourself. Let's talk more about that.
That's a big one because you can't just I say that, Lord willing, we're going to come out on the other side with COVID, and it's just going to be a matter of what that's going to look like. And in many ways, things are not within our control, but in other aspects, they are. So you have to look at what are you going to do to move beyond the middle of the pack, so to speak. Because some people are going to be behind the pack when we come out of this. Other people are going to be the head. So you need to start investing in yourself, either through your education, mentoring, getting connected with people who are in their advanced stages of their careers, getting insight and advice from them, taking courses, just staying ahead of the game. That's the best thing as far as investing in yourself.
And you mentioned doing you. Now, that's not something that I often hear, but I also hear people say, like, I'm just going to do me. I'm going to do whatever I feel like. So what do you mean by doing you exactly?
That really means really taking action. That means moving beyond the dream, moving beyond the wish list, and moving beyond the analysis. We can analyze something for over and over and over and say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And we keep analyzing all the pros and cons and we don't take action. It just literally means taking action, because you have to have the right mindset. When we talked about believing in you, you have to have the right skill set. That's where you talked about investing in yourself. And then now it's the action part. That's doing you.
And would you also say that that includes kind of blocking out and putting blinders up to what other people might think, your path is or what you should be doing at that moment in time?
Absolutely. And don't let other people block your destiny, because some people can have such negative connotations when they're talking to you that they can be so discouraging. but you have to be strong in knowing and holding on to your convictions and what you want to see your future as. And that's where we talked about it's betting on you. Don't let someone else bet against you. Know that you can bet on yourself and you can accomplish the goals that you set forward.
Yeah, I really liked what you said about don't let other people block your destiny. I feel like right now we're all just feeling so from this whole past year and the whole pandemic that a lot of us just feel like we're not pessimistic people, but we're throwing that negativity out in the atmosphere more and more, and it's hard to be positive.
Mhm. Yeah, it takes a lot of work. I mean, it takes a lot of time to say, okay, I'm here in this moment and I have a choice to make. I'm going to either move toward what my goals are, or I'm going to move away from what your goals are. And that helps you kind of balance which direction you want to go toward.
So, how can we start betting on ourselves?
That's the big thing. This is where you're going to start in this part process of starting to really get an action plan. And I use action plan, but you can use proposal, you can use playbook, you can use blueprint, script, whatever language that you use that kind of gets you motivated. That's the starting point. And there's basically three things that you need to keep in mind when you're starting this action plan. Listing your values. What is it that you value? Whether that you value trustworthiness, you value money, you value friends, families, let that kind of come together, getting a list of that. The next thing is a life motto. You can personalize it. You can come with a life motto that just kind of guides you when you feel like you're losing your balance or you're not grounded. And one that I came up for myself, it really did it over what we talked about, Jules, the last time that we talked about this. We came up with the life motto, just something that keeps me focused and giving the direction. And mine came out with just looking at, and I've got it down here, it just says, and I'm going to read it real quick. My motto is the energy is finite. Don't waste it on the insignificance unless the insignificant makes you extraordinary. And I use that, and that mean to what that means to me. I only have so much energy, and I usually place it in a 24-hour period of what I'm able to do in that 24-hour period. If I'm distracted by things that are insignificant, I'm not going to get to where I need to really focus my energy. But then also, there can be times that you see something that may be insignificant, but it's a thing that becomes a change agent for you and it moves you forward to a place that you become extraordinary. So look for opportunities in the midst of that. If it's not an opportunity for you to be extraordinary, let it go.
So your life motto was really, really great. I loved that. How did you exactly come up with that?
Well, because I've been doing mental health counseling for so long and so often, the number one thing that I hear are people that just get stuck because they're so focused on something that someone said to them in a grocery store or something a teacher said to them. And they're having difficulty moving beyond it. And I want people to really focus, stay focused on what your goals are. Don't let those little small things impact not only your well-being in that moment, but long term.
So that kind of brings up a whole other thing, our emotions of like emotionally reacting, to what people say. So how do emotions kind of influence or impact our decision making?
Yeah, when we're talking about our emotions, we're really talking about it gives us another choice point to make some decisions on how we want to move forward. So there's nothing, we place no values on our emotions. They are what they are. Most of us cannot even control what we're feeling in any particular moment. But in that moment, you can make some decisions on what you want to do as a result of those emotions. One of the things you look at is the thermostat versus thermometer. The thermostat is when you have the thermostat, you're pretty much setting your day out as far as how you want to operate throughout the day. And if there's something that happens, you slightly adjust just a little bit according to what's going on. But if you are the thermometer, you're constantly fluctuating to whoever or whatever or what's going on, that it's hard to really regulate your emotions. And that's where he talked about one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is a lot of emotional dysregulation where it's so out of control and out of proportion to what the actual event is, because you're certainly driven by what everyone is saying to you, what people are doing to you, that you're constantly giving your control away and you're giving it to other people. Because now you've had a mindset that I'm going to come in, today is going to be a good day for me, but then you're letting other people dictate that flow.
I love that. I've never heard the thermostat and thermometer thing. That's a really good way to look at things. I kind of want to circle back to what you said a few minutes ago about developing an action plan. How do I even begin to develop an action plan? That sounds overwhelming.
So one of the things we are talking about an action plan. So we kind of went through some of the things that you should be doing as far as listing your values, um, develop your own life model so that can kind of pull you in when you need to be grounded. And then we talked about the emotions. Now we're actually going to start to take action. And so one of the things is use goal setting by doing the SMARTS phrase. And that means that your goals are specific, they're motivated by your values. That's why it's important to really list and understand what your values are. And they're adaptive. When you look at adaptive, it means two things. One, is it wise and does it fit for you? And sometimes you may need to change your goals to meet what growth you have achieved throughout setting those. And then you're asking, are they realistic? And then the other thing, time specific. You're going to give a timeline on when you want to achieve those goals.
Is it the timeline? I feel like that a lot of times everyone is so focused on I have to be at this point at this time and or else I failed. How important is the timeline, and should we place a lot of value on that?
Well, I think because it holds you accountable. So I think that's important. The other things that we talked about when we look at goals, we look at micro goals. Those are goals that you can do just in the moment, or you can do within a 24-hour period. And then you're looking at short term goals. And then you're looking at long term goals. And you're looking also doing objectives toward meeting those long term goals. So it doesn't become just so overwhelming because you're looking, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things. I like micro goals because it gives you a sense of accomplishment in the moment. You can either do something that you start out your night before, where you can say, if your goal is to drink more water, so you can sit there and say at that point, I'm going to make sure I get 8 glasses of water. And then you can mark that off as an achievement the next day. You can either do that to start your morning. You can say, your goal this in the morning is to connect with a friend that you haven't connected with. You can do those things, and you can do them right in the moment. You can say, you know what, I'm going to need to take some time to focus on me, and I'm going to take a walk. And that may be your goal, your long-term goal, may to get healthier. But that's going to take those steps toward doing those things.
So are there different strategies that help us kind of conquer our goals? Because sometimes for myself, if I have a whole list of goals that I want to accomplish in a certain amount of time, I tend to get really overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't even know where to start. So how can we help achieve our goals?
Right. Yeah, just the biggest thing is to break it down into what's really important. I wouldn't do more than probably three that you want to focus on if you're looking at long-term goals. I would keep it at three. And if you're looking at your timeline, if you're looking at something that needs to take about a year or longer to be accomplished, being aware of that. Or if you're looking at the short term, and then again, doing those things to hold yourself accountable. And for some, it may help you to be able to tell other people, here's a goal that I want to help to achieve. If you got a positive support group, they can encourage in that. Just doing those check-ins, say, hey, where are you at on reaching that goal you wanted to have, as far as getting back into school or taking that course that you want to take. So that can be powerful.
Absolutely. I feel like having that support system is everything. Someone to just check in. I know a few friends of mine, they're doing little workouts and they're checking in on each other, making sure that they're achieving their goals for the day. And I think that that's even more important to have people in your life that are encouraging you for your goals in the long term, and to make sure that, you are still following up on those. And, speaking of timeline, like we should be kind of graceful with ourselves, right? Like if we don't set out and accomplish a goal by a certain time, um, should we just keep going? Should we just like, okay, maybe that goal isn't for me?
Yeah, that's where you look at that adaptive aspect. We're using the SMART phrase to kind of reevaluate that. And there's nothing wrong with reevaluating where that is. And you can look at, maybe I'm just stuck, or maybe need to go back into that beginning stage where you talked about betting on yourself, maybe believing that you're able to achieve that goal. Maybe that's the area you need to focus on. Or it can be that you need to invest more in yourself so that you can have the skill sets to be able to move forward with that goal. Uh, Jules, one thing I want to mention too is like the Disney strategy. I love this strategy because it talks about when you're setting those goals, either in an organization or with yourself, you should be really doing three roles. One is the dreamer, and the dreamer is a person who just dreams big. They can dream wildly. There's nothing off the table. And then you set that role aside if it's within yourself, and you move to the realist. And the realist is, yes, I see your dream, but let's see how we can make it come to terms. But no one, either the dreamer nor the realist, ever says it can't happen. The realist needs to just focus on how they can make the dream happen. And then you have the other role that takes place, is that's the critic. And the critic doesn't say that this can't happen, but the critic really looks at, okay, how can I protect you so that you can move forward toward that goal? So they start looking at some of the liabilities. Okay, here are some of the risks. Let's see that we can manage those risks to get you to the point to live that dream that you have.
I love that. I haven't heard about the Disney strategy before, but that makes a whole lot of sense. What are some things that we can do long term to make sure that we're betting on ourselves and achieving those goals?
The biggest thing is you're looking at is making sure that you're doing all the investment into yourself. You're connecting with the people that have decision makers to help you get to where you want to go. And the other thing that working toward is also giving of yourself to other people. There's a quote that Gandhi uses, because sometimes people think, oh, if I'm going to do all this, I'm just going to really be really, really selfish. I'm not going to really focus on meeting the needs of other people. And I would hope people are mindful that that's not what that is. It's really looking at to be your best in so many other ways. And by giving to other people, sometimes that's when the best of you comes out.
And what are the long-term effects of setting our goals? How or achieving our goals? How is that going to help me in the long run? How is betting on myself going to impact my mental health in the future?
There are several things that it's going to impact you. One is joy. And joy is that sense of contentment and peace that you have, regardless of what's happening around you, that you may have some bad things that are happening, but you're able to have this inner peace. And I think long-term goals, that's what that helps create. The other thing is resiliency, because it helps you know that you're able to accomplish the goals that you set out for yourself. And it helps you bounce back when you have adverse things happen to you. It gives you an opportunity to reframe things that even though bad things are happening to you, you can find some positive aspects in it. For example, if there's a job that you didn't get, then you can reframe it saying, you know what, maybe there's something that's even better out there for me that's going to meet my goals more effectively in the long term. Just having a way of reframing some of those negative things that happen and not personalizing everything. The other thing is self-confidence. And I think that's pretty much self-explanatory, just having that self-confidence to know I'm actually able to achieve what I set out to do. Because, a lot of times you set a goal, you think, I don't know if I really can achieve it. When you do, that's wonderful. And then the discovery of self that we talked about too is really starting to know the things that you're really good at, the things that you really like, the things that, you know what, I thought I really wanted to do this, and I've learned on this journey, this is not for me. So those are some of the benefits of all the long-term goal setting.
And are there some like resources online that can kind of help us make that plan, help us map out our goals, help us, create timelines so we can achieve our goals and bet on ourselves?
Yeah, I don't know of any specifically, but I know that there's a whole wealth of things that you can just Google as far as goal settings and inspirational quotes and things that help you kind of get toward doing those goals and achieving those goals.
Something fun that I've seen some of my friends do, they have those little letter boards and they write something inspirational on them every single day to kind of, get them going in the morning. Or I've heard of people putting sticky notes on their mirrors with like just words of affirmation to make sure that, that they're having a positive outlook on the day. And I think that that's really cool. Does journaling, stuff like that, does that help?
Oh, yes, it absolutely does help. Doing the journaling, taking some time to do some deep breathing, some meditation, and then even just connecting when you kind of see yourself getting out of balance, connecting with other people. And it can be small gestures. I had a colleague when I was like, oh, I'm so frustrated. And he said, just let me hold your hand for a second. And I promise you, that just made the world of difference. About 15 seconds of just connecting, slowing down, refocusing so I can get back in the moment and focus on what I need to do for the day. So that's big.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't touched on for betting on you?
Uh, the biggest thing is just really starting with the right mindset. Be open to the possibilities. Be in the moment because sometimes people are say, "Oh no, that would never work for me. I tried that before. My girlfriend tried that before, and this was the outcome." But be open to the possibility, and then notice how you feel afterwards. Sometimes we'll say, it just doesn't work. But then you start to say, "Wait a second. I noticed that I had a lot of angst and wasn't really feeling that powerful." Then after I completed the event or the task, I do notice that I'm starting to feel a lot better now.
Yeah, and I think that that was really important what you said about just because it didn't work before doesn't mean it can't work again. Sometimes it's all about that adaptability that we talked about, of finding a different way to do something.
Right. And then I want to add also just really, really important to pay attention to what you are telling yourself. And also, we talked about those emotions too, because it gets to a point that don't take on other people's stuff.
That's
I hear
big.
so many people come in and say, well, so and so did this or said to that's their issue. Let them own that. You have all the other things going on around yourself that you need to take responsibility. Don't take on other people's stuff.
So how does the negative talk, like, how can that really bring us down?
Well, because you're really starting to do all those things that this has never worked for me. I'm not good enough. Someone else is always better than me. But when you really start to say, you know what, I'm going to take this time to really bet on me. And even if the circumstances look like things are working against me, you're going to take those steps to move forward to say, hey, maybe in this place I'm in right now may not be the place for me. But I know if I work on those things that I need to develop myself both personally and professionally, it's going to get me to where I need to be.
That's good information. I know I learned a lot about setting goals and trying to achieve those goals and betting on myself. Angela, thank you so much for joining us today for Inspire Her.
Thank you.